Untangling the mess that's often attached to thoughts, feelings, and expectations behind your God-sized calling often takes grit, grace, and a little bit of gusto. Well, if there's anyone that can help you untangle that mess, it's this girl. Seriously, in order to help you save time, energy, and heartache, I wrote a book about untangling that mess. Seriously. But in today's episode, we are going to help you clarify the big elephant in the room, the one that's often the culprit for confusion, frustration, when it comes to your life's mission and ultimately your progress. I'm talking about unmystifying your God-sized calling. See, we often hear about purpose and passion and calling, and those things all work well together. And specifically in the book, I talk heavily about purpose and passion. So it's actually, I'll tell you if you have the book, it is chapter 7, I believe. Anyway, but unmystifying your God-sized calling. That's where we're going to sit today. We're going to talk specifically about calling. So think of calling as the gentle whispers or series of nudges to the undeniable, bold, directional promptings that guide you to your what's next phase. See, your God-sized calling isn't a singular, isolated, one-time event. It's an ongoing connection between you and God. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Your God-sized calling isn't a singular, isolated, one-time event. It's an ongoing connection between you and God. I think that's going to free up a lot of stress, a lot of, I don't even know, heaviness, burden, whatever that is that you've been attaching to. What's my purpose? What's my calling? And I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again. And if you've never heard me say it before, we all have one purpose. It's to honor and glorify God and point people to Him. That's our purpose. Our passions is basically the color behind our purpose. It's how we're built and equipped to carry out that purpose. Things that we already enjoy, things that we're enthusiastic about, things that we're energetic about, things that light us up are all attached to our one purpose, to honor and glorify God and point people to Him. So, okay, we've got purpose covered, we've got passion covered, calling. So, redefining your God-sized calling is an ever-evolving and dynamic relationship that is always pointing you to your purpose, to honor and glorify God. Think of how many calls for your attention you get throughout the day. You get emails, texts, actual calls. Remember this? This is actually a phone. It cracks me up how many commercials we see about, the new whatever brand phone that you have. No, I'm not an Apple girl. That hardly ever talk about the fact that it's a phone. They tell you the pictures, they tell you the streaming, they tell you everything, but it's a phone. Remember, it's still a phone. People do still talk on it. Anyway, I digress. So think of how many calls for your attention that you get throughout the day. Emails, texts, actual calls, the scroll, and the call to action that follows, meaning that's a choice. See, God reaches out to you in various ways throughout the day too. Maybe it's a song, and that lyric is just sticking with you, and it makes you ponder, worship, or even cry. or all of those things. Have you ever been there where you're just listening to a song and all of a sudden the words hit you? Or maybe it's one of those pithy little wisdom quotes in the midst of your scroll that suddenly is tugging on your priorities. It could be that verse that grabbed you in your hurried devotional time, knowing that maybe you should hang a little bit longer here than grabbing that 10-minute or less devotional. Something's pulling you back. Sometimes it's even an encouraging, convicting, or sustaining word from a friend or even a stranger. Have you ever had someone just come up to you and just say something and it was just right on time? Those are God's calls to you. He's always calling you back. He's not going to shout at you. He's not going to yell at you. He's going to call you in different ways. See, but it's up to us to pay attention. Recognize his voice. See, getting easier to understand, and hopefully you're recognizing some of the times and ways that God is calling you. See, just like you have a choice as to which calls that you answer or give your focused attention to, your God-sized call is no different. See, answering the calls that are designed and meant for you often takes grit, grace, and some gusto. So let's talk about that. Gritty availability and readiness, I call this. See, getting gritty is about recognizing your season, maybe your level of courage, or whether or not you feel like you're equipped can definitely influence whether or not you answer these God calls, let alone give a yes, right? Most of us hold ourselves back. See, God's not looking for your feelings. He's waiting for your willingness. He'll provide a way. He'll equip you through the process of your yes and lead you to the right path every time. So I don't know about you, but for me, it's time to let go of the worry over the level of difficulty of what it is that God is calling you to, and focus on being more disciplined and even step into who we're called to be. Warriors. We're not worriers. We're warriors. Now, how about grace? Listen, it takes grace in your relationships, right? The quality of your conversations are dependent on the strength of that relationship, right? Well, that's no different than when it comes to conversations with your Heavenly Father. Becoming focused on not just who God is or what He's capable of, but what He says, specifically to you. You'll have a much better connection. That relationship is going to be more dynamic. You'll recognize His voice, even in the noise of the crowd. And how about some gusto? It's going to take some gusto, especially when it comes to your motives and your desires. See, your enthusiasm or enjoyment for answering God's calls depends on your motives and your desires. Are they yours, His, or influenced by someone or something else? See, we need to decide if we're going to be driven by our purpose versus being distracted by the world's latest playground, because it's ever changing. You need to be here. You need to be there. You need to, this is the new thing. Oh, you're not on this platform yet. Go over here. Is that where God's calling you? How do you know? See, when you understand your purpose, it's easier to bring your brand of passion to answering your God-sized call. So I'm going to leave you with 3 ways to nurture the grit, grace, and gusto it takes to answer those God-sized calls. 1, get gritty. Face challenges head on, and learning from your setbacks are going to help you get up faster. Don't beat yourself up, which leads to number 2. Give yourself grace. Embrace the messy middle of the journey as progress. What do I mean by that? Well, you're not where you were, but you're also not who you're meant to become. So you're in that messy middle. And when we look at our lives that way, it's kind of where you want to be. And yeah, the middle is messy, but you're not hanging on and dwelling to the past. And you're not so worried and hung up and wishing and hoping for the future. God's already got that covered. He covered your past already with grace and mercy. And He's given you a hope for a future. So don't really worry about that. We're in the middle, and we're the ones who make it messy. So give yourself grace. It's messy, but that's okay. We know the one who holds the mess. And third, gusto is your gift. See, it's the enthusiasm that you give to your calling that makes it contagious. See, the things that we're passionate about, ever notice that? The things that you're passionate about, people can get on board with you, even if it's not their thing, because you're so excited about it. Wow, what is this? I need to hear more about this. What is this that's got you so excited and passionate? I want to learn more. Yeah, that's not for me, but that is awesome. But I know somebody that would love that too. See how that works? Plus, that passion only propels you towards the progress that you were created for. So I want to leave you with some things to remember about calling. Oh, my dear MESSterpiece. You're a MESSterpiece. I'm a MESSterpiece. We're all in this boat together, right? We may as well enjoy and embrace the journey. See, your God-sized calling isn't a destination. It's a divine communication. And listen, there will be challenges. Face them with grit, grace, and the kind of gusto that makes you stand out like the masterpiece that you were created to be. And listen, I'm embracing the messy middle of the journey right there with you. And listen, if you need some help navigating that messy middle, please stop by, visit my website, deanafarrell.com. There are some ways that I can help you get personalized help. Obviously, you can pick up the book. It's like I'm right there with you. It's a very conversational. There are even places for reflection and activity. Like it's an in the moment thing. Visit the focus shop, as I like to call it, where I have plenty of grab and go resources. Or you could just subscribe to the e-newsletter and you'll never miss a thing that I have discovered to help you untangle your mess.